So Hazel, the last album you had out, Vitaria Red, was Here She Comes. Just talk for a few minutes about the songs and how they came about.
Okay, this album was written as my mum was passing away. So a lot of things in it come from that, whatever's going on at that time, and the death and passing of someone. And the first track is called I Call Out Your Name. And I Call Out Your Name is what happens all the time to me, because my mother and I were best friends. She was something else. She was a very special woman. And when something funny or black humour happens to me in my everyday life, in the olden days, I'd just pick up the phone and go, "Oh, Mum, you'll never guess what happened." Whatever it is, I could tell her everything and anything. And now she's not here anymore. I can't bear it. I can't, just pick up that telephone. And that's what that song's about, because I do get... That's probably the only... I don't know what... You can't regret somebody's dead because they die. We all die. But I hate that. That's what I hate the most, that she's not here anymore, because she was such a fabulous woman.
Well, you miss her.
I miss her, but a lot of other people miss her too, because she ran the fan club. She took over when a friend of mine was, she took a whole load of orders, this woman, this friend, from the fans for T-shirts, and then she never paid the T-shirt company. So I ended up having to pay that debt off, and my mum was so incensed. She said, "Okay, Hazel, I'm going to look after it for a bit." And she used to write back to everybody. She was like an agony aunt, and so a lot of people miss my mum, and she brought people into my life that I wouldn't have known, who were fans originally, but now they're like 40-odd years old people, 50-odd years old people, who I've known since they were 14. And that's because my mum used to write back to them, and then my mum would bring them into the dressing room and say, "Oh, this is so-and-so," and I think, "Mum, don't do this, I just want to see you." But I would say hello, and consequently, I've built a whole family that is no longer fans, it's friends. They've become friends, and because of their contact with my mum. Anyway, so that's what that song's about. To Be Freed, I recorded that originally on that album, To Be Freed, the German Sony album. But I really wanted to do it again because I love the song. I think it's a beautiful song. And I've nicked stuff, text, ideas from Khalil Gibran, the Prophet, about, I was climbing up a mountain, my excess baggage getting me down, down, down. The idea of going through a gateway and climbing, always. I've used that as well, that metaphor in If Only. But that's what To Be Freed's about. Just letting it all go and reaching, screeching sometimes probably. Don't you call me darling, ah ha ha. Me and the girls, the girls and I were doing a gig. We do a lot of 80s things where we join up with the boys. There's a bunch of lads that play with us, and us three girls, we're a team now for 9 years. So we link up with the lads, and we're playing an 80s gig, and I'm the headline that night, and the guy doing the monitors is a really rude so-and-so, and no time for women at all. That's how it felt. And myself and Claire on the sax and Sarah on the piano, we're all sort of asking, can we get a bit more of such and such in the monitor, not hearing properly? And he just looked at me and said, "Don't talk to me, just talk to that guy when he comes to you." And I just thought, and when eventually the gig happened, he obviously made a mistake. He should have just listened a bit more, because then we could have had a much better gig. And in that time, I found his patronising way was too much. And so the whole idea of Don't You Call Me Darling is really a woman's song, I have to be honest. I mean, maybe men get called darling sometimes and somebody's patronising them, but it generally happens to women. It's like, "Yes, darling, don't worry, darling, it'll be all right. Pat, 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 pat." So that's why that got written from us three girls, myself, Sarah and Claire. Still of the Night, I love that song. Still trying to find ways to do that live. We try to do it every so often. But it's a very, very intimate song. And it's hard to do live. It's hard to do because somebody's got to hold the drum beat. And it's not me because I can't hold a drum beat and sing at the same time. But that's really a lover's song. My friend Jack was actually also on the To Be Freed album, and I wanted to find that because the To Be Freed album was just put on, you know, what they call it, deleted, so people can't get it. And the songs are mine, and I want people to hear those songs, and myself and the girls do such good versions of them. So that's My Friend Jack, which was about a friend that I made when I lived in Los Angeles, when I lived on Venice Beach, one of the homeless fellas who had been in Vietnam War, and you know, his whole being had been shattered from his experiences there, as were a lot of the homeless that lived there. A lot of the homeless guys living on Venice Beach were ex-vets, Vietnam vets, and the things that they'd seen and the things that they'd kind of been forced to do, not healthy, you know, not good. They couldn't live back in society, which is terrible. But I think that happens a lot actually to servicemen. You know, they go and be sent off by their country, and then the country that sent them or the government that sent them doesn't seem to really look after them afterwards.
No support system when they come back.
No.
That's right.
I mean that whole Help for Heroes. I met the mum and dad of that chap, and I just found it very. It really impacted on me that these guys go and these girls and do stand up and do their job for a country and a government, and then they have no support or they have nowhere to live after, and then they lose their marriage because they've got post-traumatic stress and it's not recognised, and so on and so forth. So that's what My Friend Jack is about. Good Morning Heartaches, because that's my indulgence because I love Billie Holiday. And so years ago I got involved with listening to Billie Holiday, and then when they made the film about Billie Holiday with Dinah Ross, Lady Sings the Blues, I bought the Lady Sings the Blues album with Dinah Ross singing. And for me, Dinah Ross has got a gorgeous voice, but it didn't compare with Billie Holiday singing her songs. And probably for me, that's like another learning curve. I want to be like Billie Holiday in voice. And I don't want to die of, you know, like drugs overdose or any of that, but I want to have a lived-in voice. And that's what I noted between Dinah Ross singing, for instance, Good Morning Heartache, or Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday sings it like she's lived it. Dinah Ross sings it like it's an aria. And, you know, a soul aria. And not put her down because I think she's great, but it's a different thing. And I want to be on the Billie Holiday side of the fence. Namikita Pa. I wanted to sing that. So it's an indulgence, that one. And it teaches me to get my French better. We do that live whenever we're in France. I don't do it here in French because most of my audience are English. But I do it in France. So I always get really scared when we're about to do that, because I do. Then, you know, that being a Jack Brel song, and I just think it's a beautiful song. Perfect Day, that's a cover of His Majesty, Lou Reed, another of my fave raves. I mean, it's the second one of his I've covered in my life. And Going Home. Okay, Going Home. There's a prayer that I found in the church in Warwick. When I was showing my brother around, it's a very old church. Lord Leicester and, you know, Letitia, whatever her name is, his wife, are buried there, and there's effigies, and it's very beautiful, very old. But I found this prayer, and it's called A Prayer for the Dying. And basically, the gist of it is that, you know, somebody is leaving on a boat and you're at the harbour and you're waving them goodbye and you're crying and you're wailing that they're leaving. And then you watch as the boat goes over the horizon, and when it eventually has disappeared, you're sad. But in the prayer it says, but at the same time, on the other side of that horizon, on the other side of that sea, there's a lot of people waiting to welcome that ship who's there. And that's why I wrote that song, because, like I said, it's about what's happened with Mum and her not being here anymore, and the passage of time. And in the middle of that song, I steal from that prayer because I want to say it, that, you know, that the ship does go out over the ocean and it disappears, but on the other side, here she comes. That's what that album's about, right?